Hello everybody, and welcome to this podcast hosted by me, Tormod. Today we will talk to Vincent King, who is living in Hogganvik Camphill Village. Hi Vincent, how are you doing?
Good evening, Tormod. I'm doing well.
So tell us, Vincent, who is Vincent King?
Well, I am a 26-year-old American who's been living in Germany for a number of years and came to Camphill in Norway to do a training or internship in social work. And yeah, I'm an inquisitive. I would like to think I'm intelligent, but I think everyone thinks that about themselves.
Yeah.
Inquisitive and possibly intelligent and outgoing and hopefully friendly person who enjoys meeting people and gathering new experiences.
Excellent, excellent. So, can you tell us a little bit about Camphill and why you are now at Hogganvik Camphill?
That's a really great question, Tormod. Camphill has possibly been introduced by Tormod before, but it's an organization, a worldwide organization of life-sharing communities whose primary intention is to provide a place to live and meaningful work for people with special abilities or disabilities. And the reason I am here at Hogganvik is because this particular format, lifestyle, appealed to me. I was interested in social work and working with people with handicaps, and I found the way that Camphill was structured, and especially the anthroposophical approach to dealing with people with special needs, very appealing on a personal level. And so I wanted to find out more and experience it for myself.
Really good. All right. So, what would you say if you were to say what makes Camphill special to you?
Again, I think that's different for every person who lives here or works here. Camphill is special for me because it's an oasis of relative peace in a fairly fractured and unpeaceful world where people are living together, working together in harmony most of the time, and they're not trying to achieve anything great or do any sort of, they have no greater agenda, no broader agenda. They're just trying to live together and work together and provide a safe and wholesome space for people who would have a difficult time living in mainstream society.
That's interesting, yeah. To sort of like go against the stream, you could say, perhaps.
Yeah, it's countercultural in a lot of ways, and yet it's not countercultural to the point where it's, extreme or cultish or where people come and just raise their eyebrows and say, you guys are crazy.
Okay.
It's mainstream enough that it's palatable for most people, and yet cultural in fundamental ways. For instance, the way the resources are shared equally, the way the pay is structured. It's also pretty flat across the board, and that is in and of itself pretty countercultural.
All right, interesting. How would you say a normal, quote-unquote, workday look for you?
A normal workday is, well, first of all, there's never a normal day.
No?
Something always changes. There's always something going on where you have to modify your schedule or turn it on its head entirely, which is, you know, it makes life exciting. But a typical day here at Hogganvik looks like this. I personally get up around 6:45, 7 in the morning, get a cup of coffee in the kitchen, sit around in the living room with those who are awake until everyone's there for breakfast. 7:30 breakfast begins. We have a simple bowl of muesli with some bananas and apples and yogurt, homemade yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll do the dishes and head off to the morning gathering called the Morgensamling, which is at 8:30. And from then the workday goes until 12:45 with a half-hour coffee break at 10:30. And my work can involve anything from cutting trees in the forest to painting buildings and outbuildings here on the village to heading up one of the workshops, primarily the wood workshop, where I'm most familiar with the work and the people who I'm caring for there. And then, yeah, we'll take a lunch break at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, have a hot meal prepared for us in our house by our house mother, and we'll do up the dishes and take a half-hour to 45-minute break until 2:30, where the work starts again. And that's where, on a typical afternoon, I will go with a group of so-called villagers, people with special needs, and one other co-worker, to the forest to cut and split and stack firewood for our central heating system here in Hogganvik. And that is something I truly enjoy doing. I love every minute of it. The work is hard and physical. The social demands are also manifold. You have to deal with people's problems. If they're having a bad day, make it work for them. And that's always a welcome challenge for me. So the afternoon in the forest is always the highlight of my day. And we'll quit work around 5, get back to the village around 5:15, eat dinner at 6, a simple meal with some bread and cheese and meats, maybe some butter and jam. And then, depending on which day it is, there will either be some event going on in the evening or nothing, and then people are free to spend time by themselves or visiting others, like I'm doing with Tormod now.
Yeah, exactly like that. Making a podcast, for instance.
Excuse me.
So, what does it mean to be a practitioner? There are often practitioners here. Practicant. What does it mean to be a practicant at Camphill?
Being a practicant at Camphill, at any Camphill village, entails being willing and able to do any type of work in a variety of situations, being able to be flexible. It requires a lot of interpersonal skills. Learning the language in the first couple months is quite demanding, but after 3 or 4 months, one is usually conversant and comfortable with everyday situations. Being a practicant is also a lot of fun, especially if there are other practicants to hang out with and spend time with. But even if there aren't on any particular village, if you're one of 2 or maybe 3, there are opportunities at least twice and sometimes 3 times during the year to get together with all the other practicants or interns from Camphills across Norway. There are 6 various locations in Norway, and got together for an extended weekend for a so-called seminar,
Yeah.
which involves learning about Camphill, learning about various facets of anthroposophy, but also learning about ourselves and our talents and our dreams and desires.
Yeah.
And having very good exchanges with the others. So,
yeah.
I'm not sure. Did I cover your
that sounds
question?
very sufficient, Mr. King.
Thank you.
So, have you also seen other Camphills?
I have. I've been privileged to see 4 of the 6 Camphills here in Norway. And I also did a short internship at a Camphill Village in Germany in 2016 when I was in the process of making the decision to come to Norway.
Yeah, interesting.
So I've seen 4 of the 6 locations, as I said, and each Camphill Village is unique, and yet there are elements that make them all instantly recognizable as a Camphill Village, and I think that's a really cool thing.
All right. If you learned something in particular from Hogganvik Camphill, or from Camphill in general, what would that be?
I think the most important lesson that I learned during my year in Hogganvik was the critical importance of empathy, and to be able to put oneself in the shoes of others who are dealing with any variety of mental or physical handicap, and feel their pain, feel their frustration, feel their inadequacy, and yet not feel sorry for them and just stop at that, but rather try to find a way to include this person, to help them, to help them be the best person that they could be, and accomplish the most that they can, despite their limitations and disabilities.
Interesting.
And to be able to see a person's problem and to see the problem from all angles, and empathize but not sympathize. I think that was critical.
Interesting. Yeah. You have been living in United States, Germany and Norway. What qualities would you like to mention? What support system have you seen that is worth bring forward from these countries, would you say?
I would say it's a complicated question, or it's not complicated. It's complex. I am a very socially aware and social-minded person, and so I look at a country and give it merits or demerits personally based on its social structure and the support systems that are in place. And America in that regard falls far behind Germany and Norway and the Scandinavian countries in general, but one positive attribute of American society that I would like to, or that I have observed, was that people are very willing to help. If you're in dire straits, if something bad has happened, a flood, a fire, an accident, people will come out of the woodwork and drop everything to help you and donate money, goods, food, time. They'll so the level of community participation in especially rural American communities is, I would say, quite high and quite admirable. Partly due to the fact that, you know, their social support net is so full of holes and currently being gutted further by the current administration. But that is the one thing that American people as a whole have going for them, is that they're very generous and warm-hearted when it comes to helping people in need.
Yeah, fascinating. Interesting observations. Yeah. What did you enjoy most about Norway?
I would have to say that the scenery tops the list.
Okay, hiking.
For me, I'm an avid hiker.
Yeah.
I enjoy being out in nature.
Yeah.
I enjoy cycling as well, but hiking is probably my #1 favorite activity. And I've gotten to some pretty wild places during my year here. I got to the Preikestolen. I got to the Trolltunga. I went skiing up in the northern region, and even just flying over the mountains to Oslo is absolutely incredible. So definitely my favorite aspect of Norway is the stunning scenery and the nature here.
So is there anything you'd like to add to this, or yeah?
I would add that if you're interested in a communal lifestyle, in life sharing and work sharing opportunities, and if you are interested in Norway or the Scandinavian countries in general, it's definitely worth it to come to Camphill and give it a try for 6 months or a year, or even just 2 weeks. You'll learn things about yourself that you didn't know, and you'll have a very rich and rewarding experience, no matter how long or short your stay is. I guess that's what I would leave my listeners with.
Okay, thank you, Vincent King, and thank you, listener. This will be all for this podcast. Check out Camphill where you are, and enjoy!